Ladies and gentlemen, what's going on? This is Beza from Latinx Nation. You're watching Playlist. Hoy día, we have a special guest, Beto Vargas. What's going on, brother? How are you today?
Hey, good morning. I'm doing really well now that I just released a new single saying hi to you from Los Angeles, California. How are you doing over there?
Oh, man, we're beautiful down here in Toronto, brother. Listen, you're a musician, you're a songwriter, you're an artist, you're a music wizard, man. Tell the people in Canada, man, how you became such a powerful musician. You know, you're such a music wizard. Let us know.
First of all, I love that, music wizard. I'm going to start using that. Thank you for that. No, I've been very blessed to be surrounded by art and music all my life. You know, I very early in my life, I just got really, I just fell in love with music and art. I grabbed the guitar when I was 13 years old and just surrounded myself with art and music and just started playing and started recording artists. And eventually that led to a whole career. And as you mentioned, nowadays, I'm a producer, I'm a composer, I'm a songwriter, I'm an artist, which they all feed each other really well, but just keeps it interesting. But it's just been my whole life. And I'm just blessed to be able to do it every day of my life.
Man, that sounds exciting, and I love the studio background. You have some beautiful instruments in the back. Is this your home studio?
Yeah, this is my home studio, which thankfully, with all the pandemic, been able to keep creating, and it's been my actual bat cave.
Definitely, and you're based in LA, Colombiano, right?
Colombiano, born and raised. Moved to LA 2012 and been here ever since.
Amazing. So let me ask you a quick question about who you are, man. Like,
please.
Let's start with your music influences, man. What bands you grew up listening to?
Ooh, that's always a tough question because I had so many different influences from different genres, and I come from a big family. Grew up with my dad listening to a lot of like Stones and Beatles and Cat Stevens and Eric Clapton. Actually, the reason I grabbed the guitar was because we would listen to the Clapton Unplugged so much. And I just love the guitar. And actually the first song I ever learned in my life was Tears in Heaven. Took me 3 months to learn. I couldn't play anything else, but I could play one song, and that was Tears in Heaven. Never forget that. So that on my dad's side. On my mom's side, she was a little bit more on the Latin side, like Latin pop and everything from like I don't know, obviously like the classics like Selena and see, I'm losing it all right now. She just listened to like just a lot of classic like pop and Latin stuff, and then on just growing up, I grew up listening to a lot of Latin rock and roll, stuff from Argentina, from Colombia, from like Fito Páez and Los Rodriguez, and a lot of influence from that side. So it was just a mix of so much stuff. I had European rock, American rock, South American rock, and then like Colombian traditional music and pop. So that it all just kind of meshed into my artistry, and that's why like my first album, Huellas, which is in Spanish, has a little bit of all of that. It has some rock and roll influences. You can hear some like traditional like 50s rock and roll from the US, and you can listen to it has some influences from Europe, it has some influences from like South American rock, and that's why it's called Huellas. It's like all the footprints of my life. So that as you can see, like my influences have always been just a little bit all over the place, always centered around like rock and pop, and they keep expanding. Nowadays my influences are, even though I still have those roots, I'm always just kind of exploring new sounds. It's also since I'm a producer, so I'm also like always trying to find new things, new inspirations. And so my influences are always just evolving.
Oh, that sounds great, brother. I mean, it seems like you really had grassroots education with different types of music. And I mean, God bless your parents, porque,
yeah,
when we're kids, uno escucha la música, and then, when you grow up, like you don't know it's going to impact you in such a, musical way, right? Like look where you are now.
Yeah, I don't think my dad ever thought that by playing Eric Clapton, he was going to send me on a artist route. He would have tried otherwise. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But yeah, you never really know. You never really know what an influencer, like a song or a band that you just hear through a kitchen, can influence your life. It's crazy.
So what are your parents saying now that, what are they saying now, that you're a musician, you're an artist? What do they think about that?
No, they've supported me throughout the years. I mean, we've had our rough patches, and it's a tough road. It's the road less traveled, and like every parent, they're always concerned about life and how things are going to be. But I think once they realized that this was my passion and that it wasn't, in many eyes, in the eyes of parents, sometimes it's just like such a lonely road and such a difficult road that they don't see how big the industry is nowadays. And I think the fact that they just saw that all the potential there is to like producing music and engineering and recording and doing shows, are just, the music industry is huge. There's so much you can do with it. They started to see like all the beauty that there was into it, and the passion that I have for it. And the more and more I got into it and, work with bigger artists and different people, are like, okay, you know what, maybe this is your thing. So I'm blessed. I'm blessed to have a family that's always had my support, with some doubts sometimes, of course, but here we are. And I'm blessed to have them by my side.
So I read that you work with numerous artists in all capacities of music productions. Working with such powerhouses, you can name a few. How has that shaped you to be the artist today you are, and even going forward and in working in your album coming up?
Oh, it's been a huge impact. I was very blessed to move to LA and work with such a variety of artists and such a variety of levels of artists, from the up and coming artists to, the major label artists that, with huge hits. And they all give you something back. It's not necessarily that the bigger artists are bigger influences, maybe in the sense that, they're icons, and you sometimes, like, it's amazing to work with your idols. Definitely. I got to work with artists like John Legend, like Jane's Addiction, like Barbra Streisand, Alan Stone, just a lot of artists that have, paved the way, and obviously it's super exciting. But there are also artists that are very established and know exactly what they want, and also have a lot of people behind them. So there's a lot of bureaucracy, there's a lot of politics to, quote unquote. And then the up and coming artists, I love to work with them because they still have this spark, this like initial, urge and just fearlessness, and then it's all taking risks, and it's bold, and that's also very exciting. So, from all of them, I take a little bit of something. They're all, each artist is also very different. No matter where you are, you just don't know what you're going to encounter until you actually sit down in a session with them and talk and see them actually, do their thing. So again, just blessed to be able to work with all the different types of artists, and it's a blessing.
I mean, so you crossed over to English, how did that decision come to be? Comenzaste cantando español, sounded amazing. I was listening to a few tracks. How was that journey like, and how did you decide to do that?
It was a tough decision. I mean, I've always wanted to do stuff in English, but coming from Colombia, and I like very easily and organically just like fell into like the Latin industry. Also, I was writing songs in Spanish. Funny enough, when I lived in Colombia, I was writing stuff in English. I moved to the US, I started writing stuff in Spanish. Kind of ironic. But I started doing huellas, and a lot of doors opened in the Latin world. A lot of doors opened. Then like the whole revolution of reggaeton and the urban world kind of took over the industry. And I suddenly found myself kind of lost. Like, I didn't know where I sat as an artist. Like, I didn't see much response and people getting away from rock and pop. And so I've always listened to American, pop rock and European pop rock, and there's just so much, and there's such a great audience, and there's so many different varieties, and there's people taking risks and being bold. And I didn't see that on the Latin side, and I needed a place to explore. I didn't have a canvas to paint on, So I kind of like especially like during the pandemic, I just kind of took a step back and was like, okay, what do I really want to do? Like, where's my sound? How can I really express myself? And I started writing some stuff in English just for the fun of it. And I started realizing that I was just being very connected to that side. And I found myself like if I found myself in an easier position to express myself artistically, lyrically, emotionally. So I decided to explore this side, and it just started coming naturally, and people's response was incredible. So I decided to, you know what? I've always wanted to do this. I'm gonna make a all English album. And that's how this album started, and that's how it came to be. And we're 2 tracks in, second one just got released on Friday, and I'm super excited. Love singing in English, love the opportunities that this can bring. The good thing about singing in English also is like, it still doesn't close the doors to the Latin market. Everybody still listens to stuff in English. I can still play this in Colombia and Mexico and in Argentina, everywhere, but it also opens the doors to be able to play alongside some of my bigger influences right now and artists that I listen to day to day, and be able to perform in festivals in the US and the UK. And I don't know, I think it just opens new possibilities, and I'm just enjoying the ride. So whatever comes, bless the universe, and we'll see where it takes us.
On fire, man, on fire, just like you are right now, man. I know there's a special story about this track.
Oh yeah.
Share it, because it blew my mind, and I'm like, I need to know more about this. Tell us.
Sure. I mean, at first I was kind of like wondering how much I wanted to like even share the story behind On Fire, because it's kind of I don't know, it's kind of surreal, but I think it's something that a lot of people will relate to, because On Fire was born during the pandemic. It was born out of a dream. I woke up one day and remembered this dream that I had of this woman on fire, like this phoenix, this just gorgeous being. And it was so real. It was so real. I can't explain it. It was like, I felt like the passion. I felt like the urge of just knowing this being. And I woke up with this feeling in this memory, and it just stayed on my head for years. And I gotta write something about this. And as I started writing it, I started realizing how much this was like a representation of the world we were in, and the fact that we were in close quarters and we couldn't really have a human connection and a physical connection. I mean, yeah, there's some people that have, their spouses and families, but many people had to go through this alone, and we're in the house alone, in apartments alone. And I think eventually everybody started feeling that natural instinct of just being able to hold somebody, just being able to see somebody, and fall in love, and everything that just, that comes after. So I just thought it was kind of pretty and nice, the representation that it meant, that it wasn't only just a lust thing, but it could also be just that passion that we all have to just meeting that perfect someone, or even just falling in love, or even just having a good time, even just meeting somebody and just having a human connection. It's something that we crave, that we need, that we desire as humans, as animals, as beings. So that's how On Fire came to be. And then I invited Michelle Leclerc, which is an incredible Argentinian singer and songwriter. And she's great with lyrics. She's a dear friend, and we sat together, and she just kind of grabbed what I had and expanded and just put the sprinkles on top, so to speak. And that's how it came to be. And so I'm very excited. It means a lot to me, because it was just part of this whole process and crazy world that we've been in the last couple of years. So there it is for you guys. Hope you guys enjoy it, and now you have a little story behind it.
So internally, when you had this dream, right, when you woke up from this surreal experience, you can say it. Did you ever find out the deeper message about it than what the song really is?
In terms of what do you mean?
In terms of, like, you see this fire, you see this phoenix, and it's the world that is the world around you, but that's the outside. Internally, did it mean anything to you?
Yeah, I think internally it's been about I've always been a hopeless romantic. I think it's always been about that perfect being. Um,
Romantic.
yeah, hopeless romantic. I think that there is really is like a soulmate. I really think that there's somebody out there for all of us. Maybe that's just a manifestation of what's awaiting, or what I hope is out there. I don't know. But life keeps surprising me, so I'm not surprised if this lesson is not over yet. So maybe there's still a lot for me to internalize about this dream, about this song. And I always think that by putting it out there, by keeping it alive, you keep that going. So maybe I'm still learning. We'll see what comes.
Is this On Fire track going to be the focal point of your album? Are you going to be taking, what's the theme around your album? Is it the On Fire, or you're still molding it?
I mean, I don't think it's going to be like centralized around this idea. I think the album is very varied, in the sense that it doesn't necessarily talk about just one theme. I think it's about it's about being true. It's about being true to myself. It's about being true to who we are and what we're meant to be, and not being so scared to share that with the world. That's something that I've learned in the last couple of years. Personally, I just learned that by letting go and being true to yourself, you attract the good things in your life, and it takes you to being that best version of yourself that you're meant to be. So if anything, like the album, I wanted to be centered around that, about honesty, about just being true to who you are. And that's part of growing up, it's part of evolving as a human being, as an artist. So I think it'll be centered about that. There will be love, which all comes, there's a few different like topics that go around that. There's a love aspect, there's a personal aspect, there's a family aspect. So I think it'll touch around all those little subjects, but it'll definitely be about being true to yourself and what you believe in, and not be scared about opening the door and opening the book, so to speak, because that's just who we are, and we have to be comfortable and happy and okay with sharing that.
Well, that's 100% right, man. And do we expect any collaborations or official release dates for the album? Any little scoop you can give us?
Yes, there might be some collaborations. That's a surprise. I'll let you know as soon as we can. Then in terms of the album release, we were aiming for the end of this year. We'll see. It might get pushed a little bit, just in terms of like I still want to release a few singles before. Have you guys like see the process? While we're doing this. The industry has changed a lot, and people have just kind of like short attention spans. So I'm just scared of releasing the whole album at once, that people will not take the time to listen to the whole thing at first. So we're trying to be a little strategic about it. That's not my area of expertise. I thank God I have a great team that deals with that, or at least advises me on how we should go about this. But definitely a lot more music coming this year. There's definitely at least 2 more singles coming this year, 2 or 3 more singles, and then the album will either drop probably more closer to the beginning of next year. But that's kind of the plan, because hopefully when this whole thing opens up, hopefully we can take this on the road and share this album with the rest of the world. So hopefully, God forbid.
Thank you, Beto, for joining us. We appreciate this interview. We know many great things are coming up your way, and we're excited to hear your album. We're excited to listen to your music. And man, say goodbye to your people here in Toronto, man. We're excited to have you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. It was a blast, and a huge hello and thank you to everybody in Toronto and Canada and Latinx. Thank you so much for tuning in. Don't forget to listen to On Fire, and I hope to see you guys real soon.